You have been inside a bank branch. You have waited in the line. You have sat in the plastic chair. You have spoken to the person behind the counter who was polite in the specific way that people are polite when they are following a script, rather than making a genuine choice to be kind to you. You have asked a question and received an answer that was technically correct and completely unhelpful. You have left feeling like a transaction that was processed, rather than a person who was served. That experience is not an accident. The way a bank treats you is a direct function of how much money you have with them, not a rough approximation of that function, a precise, tiered, deliberately engineered function that determines which products you are offered, which fees you pay, which humans answer when you call, how quickly your problems get solved, and whether the institution views you as a customer to be served or a resource to be extracted from. Most people spend their entire lives in the bottom tiers of this system without ever understanding that the tiers above them exist, without ever knowing that the person sitting in the office behind the glass, not the teller window, but the actual office with the door, is having a completely different experience with the same institution. This is that system, explained from the bottom to the top.
Tier 1. The basic account holder. You open a checking account, maybe a savings account. You do this because you need somewhere to put the money that arrives on payday and to set up the automatic payments that leave before the week is out. The bank accepts you. Not enthusiastically, pragmatically. You represent a certain amount of predictable fee revenue and deposit float that the bank can use to generate income even on accounts that hold very little. You are profitable at your scale, in aggregate, meaning the bank makes money not from you specifically, but from the millions of people exactly like you, all being processed through the same system simultaneously. At this tier, the bank charges you fees that wealthy customers never pay. Monthly maintenance fees that disappear above a minimum balance you may not always be able to maintain. Overdraft fees that charge you the most money at the exact moment you have the least. A structure so specifically punitive to low-balance customers that it has attracted regulatory attention repeatedly without fundamentally changing. ATM fees for using machines that are not in the bank's network because the bank's machines are not in your neighborhood in the same density they appear in wealthier ones. The branch experience at this tier is the waiting room, the plastic chair, the teller who processes your transaction efficiently and without any particular interest in your financial situation. There is no relationship manager. There is no one whose job it is to understand your financial goals and help you move toward them. There is a counter and a queue and a system designed to process volume. If you call customer service, you wait. The hold time at this tier is not short. The person who eventually answers is working from a script, has limited authority to resolve anything outside the standard protocol, and is compensated in a way that incentivizes call volume over problem resolution. Your problem may be solved. It will not be solved quickly or with any particular sense that your time is valuable. The products offered to you with this tier
are the most expensive version of basic financial services. The interest rate on your savings account is near zero. The credit card you qualify for carries the highest interest rates available in the product line. The loan you can access, if you can access one, comes with terms that reflect the bank's assessment of your risk as a borrower, which is higher at this tier not because you are less reliable as a person, but because you have less to lose if things go wrong, and less accumulated credit history to demonstrate otherwise. You are a customer. You are not a client. Tier 2. The middle account holder. You have more. Not dramatically more, but enough to maintain the minimum balance that removes the monthly fee, enough to qualify for a credit card with better terms, enough to have a car loan and a mortgage that the bank holds and that represent real relationship value to the institution. At this tier, the branch experience improves marginally. The teller still processes your transactions, but you may have access to a banker, not a teller, a banker, who can sit with you in one of the side offices and discuss your mortgage options or your refinancing situation, or whether you should open a money market account. The banker at this tier is not your advocate. The banker is a salesperson with a relationship veneer, Their job is to identify which products you qualify for and match you to the products that generate the most fee revenue for the bank within your profile. This is not malicious, it is structural. The banker is evaluated on cross-selling metrics. How many products does each customer hold? And the products they are incentivized to sell are the ones that are most profitable for the institution. The customer service experience at this tier is slightly better. Your hold time is shorter. The person who answers has marginally more authority to resolve issues. You may have a direct line to a specific branch rather than routing through a general call center. The fee structure at this tier is more favorable, but the fundamental math of your relationship with the bank still runs in the bank's direction. Your savings earn less than inflation. Your checking earns nothing. The bank takes your deposits, deploys them at significantly higher rates through lending and investment, and returns you a fraction of the spread. You understand vaguely that this is how banking works. You accept it because the alternative, keeping cash under a mattress, is obviously worse, and because everyone around you is in the same arrangement and nobody seems to be questioning it.
Tier 3. The affluent customer. Something shifts at this tier, not dramatically, incrementally, but the shift is real, and it marks the beginning of a fundamentally different relationship with the institution. You have crossed the threshold that triggers a different category of service. The number varies by bank. Some set it at $250,000 in total relationship value, some at $500,000, some at $1 million. But the principle is consistent. Above a certain threshold, the bank's internal classification of you changes, and the resources allocated to your relationship change with it. You get a dedicated relationship manager, a real person with a real name, whose job, a significant portion of whose job, is to maintain your relationship with the institution. They call you, not because something went wrong, because it is their job to know what is going on in your financial life before something goes wrong, so they can position the bank's products as the solution to whatever you are about to need. At this tier, your problems get solved faster, not because the bank changed its systems for you specifically, but because the relationship manager has direct lines to the people who can resolve issues and has the standing to move your problem to the front of the internal queue. The problem that takes a standard customer 3 calls and 2 weeks to resolve takes you 1 call and 2 days. The products available to you at this tier are genuinely better. The interest rates on your deposits are higher. The loan terms are more favorable. The credit products come with benefits, travel perks, purchase protections, concierge services that are not available in the standard product line. The bank is competing for your relationship in a way that it was not competing for your relationship when you had less. You are a client now, not a customer. The language is different. The treatment is different. The underlying principle that the bank's goal is to generate profit from your relationship has not changed, but the method has. At this tier, the bank generates profit by giving you things: better rates, better service, better access, because retaining your relationship at this level is worth more to the institution than the cost of the benefits it extends to keep you.
Tier 4. The high net worth client. You have crossed another threshold, the one that triggers a word you may not have heard used to describe your banking relationship before: private banking. Private banking is not a better version of retail banking. It is a different product entirely that happens to be offered by the same institution. The branch does not apply. The queue does not apply. The hold music does not apply. You have a private banker, not a relationship manager, a private banker. The distinction matters. The private banker is not incentivized primarily on product sales. They are incentivized on relationship retention. Their job is to make sure that you never have a reason to move your assets elsewhere. This requires knowing your financial life at a level of detail that no retail banker would ever have access to. Your estate plan, your tax situation, your investment portfolio, your business interests, the full picture of your wealth and the goals that wealth is meant to serve. The service at this tier operates on a different time standard. Problems are resolved same day, sometimes the same hour. The private banker has the authority and the resources to move faster than the standard institutional process allows. because your relationship is valuable enough to warrant the exception. The products at this tier are structurally different. You can borrow against your investment portfolio at rates that retail customers cannot access. You can access structured products, private credit
Facilities and investment vehicles that are not available to the general public. The bank's asset management arm, which manages billions of dollars of client wealth, becomes accessible to you at minimums that were previously out of reach. The fees at this tier are not eliminated, but they are reframed. You are no longer paying fees for basic services. You are paying fees for sophisticated services that are genuinely worth more than their cost to you. The math of your relationship with the bank has inverted. At the bottom tier, the bank extracted value from you. At this tier, the bank creates value for you in exchange for the ongoing privilege of managing your relationship and the revenue that relationship generates.
Tier 5. The ultra-high net worth client. At the highest tier, the concept of a bank branch is almost comedic. You are not going to a branch. The bank is coming to you. The private banker flies to your location for meetings. The documents arrive by courier. The decisions are made in conversations that happen over dinner or on the phone with people who are senior enough in the institution that their business cards could not be obtained by a retail customer trying. At this tier, the bank is not just a place to keep money. It is a financial partner with resources that function as an extension of your own team. The bank's legal department helps structure transactions. The bank's tax team coordinates with your accountants. The bank's real estate desk sources opportunities before they hit the market. The bank's network, which includes relationships with private companies, other institutions, and high net worth individuals globally, is accessible to you as a resource. The fees you pay at this tier are significant, but the value you receive is also significant and measurable. Access to deals that do not exist in the public market, financing structures that would be impossible to assemble without the bank's balance sheet and relationships, intelligence about markets and opportunities that is genuinely proprietary and that provides a real advantage. The bank's goal has not changed from bottom to top. The bank exists to generate profit from its relationships with clients. What changes at every tier is the method. At the bottom, the method is extraction. Fees on low balances, high rates on necessary credit, efficient processing with minimal service. At the top, the method is partnership, creating genuine value, providing genuine access, building a relationship that is mutually beneficial enough that
The difference in treatment between the bottom tier and the top tier is not subtle. It is not marginal. It is so complete that the two experiences could belong to different institutions entirely. They do not. They belong to the same institution, the same building with the same name above the door, delivering radically different products to different people, based entirely on one variable: how much money they have.
What you can do with this information is not just interesting, it is actionable. The first thing to understand is that consolidation matters. Banks determine your tier based on total relationship value, the combined value of all the accounts, loans, and investments you hold with them. The customer who has $200,000 spread across 4 banks is a standard customer at every bank. The customer who consolidates that same $200,000 into one institution crosses a threshold that unlocks a different tier of service, better rates, and a relationship manager whose job is to help them. The second thing to understand is that the fee structure at the lower tiers is negotiable more often than banks advertise. Overdraft fees, monthly maintenance fees, foreign transaction fees, all of these have been waived for customers who asked politely and were otherwise in good standing. The bank will not volunteer this information, but asking costs nothing and occasionally produces results. The third thing to understand is that the rate on your savings account is negotiable at the affluent and high net worth tiers. The rate you are offered is not the rate you are required to accept. A conversation with a relationship manager that includes the phrase, "I am considering moving a portion of my deposits to another institution," frequently produces an improved rate offer within the same conversation. The fourth thing to understand is that the products available at the higher tiers are accessible to you even before you technically qualify for the tier. If you are a customer with clear trajectory, established relationship history, and the social fluency to have the right conversation with the right person. Banks make exceptions, not often, not freely, but more often than their stated policies suggest when the customer knows what to ask for and who to ask for.
The larger truth? The banking system is not neutral. It is a system with a deliberate design that allocates its best services to its wealthiest clients and its most extractive products to its least wealthy ones. This is not a conspiracy. It is economics. The wealthiest clients generate the most revenue per relationship and therefore justify the most investment in servicing. The least wealthy clients are profitable only in aggregate and are serviced accordingly. Understanding this does not change the system, but it changes your relationship to the system. The person who knows how the tiers work can make decisions about consolidation, about negotiation, about which institution to build a relationship with, that the person who does not know cannot make. The goal is not to be angry at the system. The goal is to understand it well enough to move through it as efficiently as possible. To understand that the plastic chair and the long hold time are not personal, they are structural. And that the path from the plastic chair to the private banker's office is not a mystery. It is a series of financial decisions made consistently over time that eventually cross the thresholds that the system responds to. The bank is not your friend at any tier, but at the higher tiers, it is a useful partner, and useful partnerships are worth building. Start building.